Welcome, and take a slow breath with me for a moment, because today we're talking about how to think critically like a genius, calmly, clearly, and without feeling overwhelmed. If you've ever felt confused by information, easily influenced by strong opinions, or unsure whether your thoughts are really your own, this is not because you're unintelligent, and it's not because you're bad at thinking. Most people were never taught how to think, only what to think, and that creates mental noise instead of clarity. The good news is that critical thinking is not a talent you're born with, it's a trainable brain habit, and with a few simple shifts, you can change how your mind processes information, decisions, and problems starting today. Imagine your mind like a busy room filled with voices, opinions, headlines, memories, and emotions all talking at once. Critical thinking is not about adding more voices, it's about learning how to slow the room down and listen to the right ones. Researchers in cognitive science often explain that the brain defaults to fast, automatic thinking to save energy, but with gentle awareness, we can activate slower, deeper thinking that leads to better judgment and insight. So let's begin by calming the mind before sharpening it. Right now, notice your breathing, not changing it, just noticing it. This small pause matters, because critical thinking starts when the brain feels safe and unhurried, not pressured or defensive. The first shift is learning to separate information from interpretation. Most people believe they are reacting to facts, but in reality, they are reacting to the story their brain creates about those facts. Try this gently the next time you hear a statement or read a post. Ask yourself, what is actually being said, and what meaning am I adding to it? For example, if someone says, "This method doesn't work," your brain may instantly react with agreement, anger, or doubt. But pause and notice, is this a proven fact, a personal experience, or an opinion shaped by emotion? This simple question slows the brain and moves it from automatic reaction into thoughtful evaluation. Neuroscience studies show that when we pause before judging, the prefrontal cortex becomes more active, which is the part of the brain responsible for reasoning and long-term thinking. You can feel this happening as a slight sense of space or calm between stimulus and response. That space is where critical thinking lives. Try a small exercise now. Think of a recent situation where you felt strongly about something. Imagine placing the situation on a table in front of you, instead of inside your chest. Notice how creating distance allows you to see more angles, more possibilities, and less emotional pressure. The next shift is learning to ask better questions, not more questions. Genius-level thinkers are not defined by how much they know, but by the quality of the questions they ask themselves. Instead of asking, "Is this right or wrong?" try asking, "What evidence supports this, and what evidence challenges it?" This isn't about being negative or suspicious, it's about being balanced. Imagine holding a coin and looking at both sides calmly, without needing one side to win. When you practice this, your brain learns flexibility instead of rigidity, which is a key marker of high intelligence. Psychologists studying critical reasoning found that people who regularly question their own assumptions are far better decision-makers over time. Not because they doubt everything, but because they understand that certainty without examination is fragile. Notice how this mindset feels lighter, not heavier. Now imagine you're listening to a confident speaker or watching a persuasive video. Instead of absorbing it passively, gently ask, what is the main claim here, and what would need to be true for this claim to hold up? This keeps your mind engaged without becoming defensive. The third shift is learning to slow your thinking on purpose. In a world that rewards fast reactions, slowing down feels unnatural, but it's one of the most powerful cognitive tools you can develop. Studies on decision-making show that slower thinkers make fewer errors, even if they don't feel smarter in the moment. Try this now with a simple mental pause. The next time you feel the urge to immediately agree or disagree, take one full breath before responding. That breath gives your brain just enough time to move from instinct to insight. You might notice that when you slow down, new thoughts appear that weren't there before. These thoughts are often quieter, more nuanced, and more accurate. Critical thinking is not loud, it's subtle and patient. A helpful metaphor is imagining your thoughts like snow in a shaken globe. When the globe is constantly shaken by stress and speed, nothing is clear. When you set it down and wait, the snow settles, and patterns emerge naturally. The next shift is learning to think in probabilities instead of absolutes. Genius thinkers rarely think in terms of always and never. They think in terms of likely, unlikely, possible, and uncertain. Notice how often your brain uses absolute language. This will never work. People are always like this. I can't do this. These statements feel strong, but they limit learning and accuracy. Gently replacing them with softer language opens the mind. For example, instead of saying, "This is impossible," try, "This is difficult with what I know right now." This small change keeps the brain curious instead of closed. Research in cognitive flexibility shows that people who tolerate uncertainty think more creatively and adapt more quickly to new information. Try imagining uncertainty not as weakness, but as mental breathing room. It's the space where learning happens. You don't need to have final answers to think critically, you need openness. Another powerful habit is learning to think from multiple perspectives. This doesn't mean abandoning your values, it means temporarily stepping into another viewpoint to understand its logic. When you do this, your brain builds stronger neural connections and becomes less reactive. A simple exercise is to ask, if someone completely disagrees with me, what might they be seeing that I'm not? You don't have to agree with them, just understand them. This ability is strongly linked to emotional intelligence and advanced reasoning. Neuroscientists have found that perspective-taking activates areas of the brain associated with empathy and complex problem-solving. You may notice a softening in your thoughts, and a reduction in mental tension when you practice this. Now let's talk about information overload, because critical thinking fails when the brain is exhausted. Genius thinking is not about consuming more information, it's about digesting less information more deeply. Try limiting how much content you consume in one sitting, and instead spend time reflecting on a single idea. Ask yourself how it connects to your life, your experiences, or your goals. Reflection turns information into insight. You can even do this physically by writing one sentence about what you learned and why it matters. This activates memory and understanding at the same time. Studies on learning retention show that reflection dramatically increases comprehension compared to passive consumption. Another key habit is learning to notice emotional triggers. Strong emotions can hijack thinking without us realizing it. When you feel anger, fear, or excitement rising, gently label it. Just saying, "I notice I'm feeling defensive," can restore clarity. This works because naming emotions reduces activity in the brain's threat system and increases rational processing. You may feel your shoulders relax or your breathing deepen when you do this. Critical thinking thrives in calm awareness. Now imagine facing a problem in your life. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this situation teaching me about my thinking patterns?" This shifts the brain from victim mode to observer mode. Great thinkers throughout history were not free from problems, they were skilled at examining them. They treated challenges like puzzles instead of threats. You can practice this by breaking problems into smaller questions rather than overwhelming conclusions. Another important shift is trusting evidence over confidence. Confidence is not proof, and uncertainty is not ignorance. Notice how often confident voices are mistaken, while quiet thinkers are accurate. When evaluating ideas, ask, what data, experience, or reasoning supports this? Even your own beliefs deserve this gentle examination. This doesn't weaken you, it strengthens your intellectual integrity. Try remembering a time you changed your mind and learned something important. That moment was not failure, it was growth. Critical thinking welcomes updates, like software improving over time. As we come toward the end, remember that thinking critically like a genius is not about being smarter than others. It's about being clearer with yourself. It's about slowing down, questioning gently, and staying open. If you practice these habits daily, even for a few minutes, you'll notice better decisions, calmer reactions, and deeper understanding. Your mind will feel less crowded and more focused. Try applying just one of these ideas today. Pause before reacting, ask one better question, or notice one assumption. Small steps rewire the brain over time. And as you continue practicing, you may notice that confidence grows naturally, not from knowing everything, but from knowing how to think. If this way of training your mind feels helpful, make it part of your daily routine, and allow yourself patience as your brain adapts. Stay curious, stay calm, and keep practicing. And if you'd like more gentle brain training like this, you can return here anytime, and grow your thinking, one quiet moment at a time.